and welcome back to my channel. This time around, I'm not here to share a book recommendation, but to share some movie recommendations. And all these movies have been based on books. With the holiday season coming around, a lot of people are going to be spending time at home, vacationing indoors, or traveling far and wide to meet their families and loved ones, which means a lot of time spent on planes and trains, giving everyone ample of time to catch up on some good films. So these are my top 10 recommendations for movies which have been based on books. One of the recommendations that I give people who would like to start reading more is to watch the film first and then get the book. So anybody who's interested in following that route or trying to read more, this video is for you. So let's get into my top 10 recommendations, beginning with Bridget Jones' Diary. Now, Bridget Jones' Diary, as the book, is a series of 4 books by Helen Fielding. And I actually read the book after I had seen the film. The first book came out in 1996, and the movie didn't come out till 2001. But I was slightly older when I saw it, so I didn't really see it when it came out because I was quite young. Maybe I'm dating myself, but anyway, the movie in itself is hilarious. You have Renee Zellweger in it with Colin Firth and with Hugh Grant. I love Hugh Grant. The movie it's a masterpiece when it comes to really good comedy. The storyline follows Renee Zellweger, who is Bridget Jones. She's a 30-something-year-old looking for love, failing in her attempt to lose some weight. She's not very good at her job. She's in between these two guys, and what sort of comes out of that situation. It's beautifully done and it's so funny. You will not regret watching this movie over the holiday season. I can tell you that, if you haven't already seen it. Please go and catch it. Now, like I mentioned, I had read the book after, and I can safely say that the book is 5 times funnier than the movie. So if you can imagine, if the film is so funny, and I say that the book is funnier, you are spoiled for choice between the movie and the book. So yeah, please go and catch Bridget Jones if you're looking for a light comedy. The movie is set in times before social media existed, so for my Gen Z followers, you all might find it interesting of what it was like when people dated, when apps and phones and WhatsApp and whatnot did not exist, and people actually wrote in actual diaries or putting pen to paper. So yeah, that's my first recommendation. My second recommendation, which probably comes as no surprise to most people, is To Kill a Mockingbird. The book was written by Harper, and interestingly, she didn't really write a second book for very, very many years after, because this book was just such a sensational success. And the movie was a grand success as well. The story follows the journey of Atticus, who is a lawyer, and how he defends a black man who is falsely accused of a very harsh crime, and his relationship with his children. And the themes that you will find in this story is racial injustice, human relationships in general, the relationship of Atticus with his children, and how sometimes as a society we look at people who are different from us as others, as people who need to be looked at as something as scary or to be kept away from, and how it sort of deconstructs that. It's a very beautifully made film. Gregory Peck has done an impeccable job. So if you want to catch a very interesting, gripping film, this is a great recommendation from that. And a lot of really profound lines from the book have been really cinematically done in the film itself. One of my favorite lines from the movie, and I might butcher this a little bit, so pardon me for that, is, you haven't really known a person or seen things from his point of view till you have been in his skin and walked around it, or something to that effect, which talks about how you really don't understand a person's perspective till you've been in their shoes. My next movie recommendation is a film titled Misery. It's based on a book by Stephen King by the same name, and is a psychological thriller that follows the journey of an obsessive fan and the extent to which she will go in her fandom. And it's very scary in a lot of places. I'm not a big fan of horror films, so this is a psychological thriller, and hence the recommendation. Kathy Bates has done such a flawless job when it comes to portraying an absolute psychopath. I think this will be a very interesting sort of read in case you like the film and then want to reach out and grab a copy of the book. My next recommendation is a love story by Nicholas Sparks. Any guesses? No, it's not The Notebook. It is a movie called A Walk to Remember that came out before, many years before The Notebook. While The Notebook is a great film and it sort of is on my list as well, but I really would recommend A Walk to Remember. There's something about that film that's it's very innocent because it's set in a time where it's a love story, like I mentioned, between two kids in high school or first year of college, something to that effect, like young teenagers, and the first love, and it's just so heartbreaking. It's a really beautiful film. I remember when it came out, there was a song in the film called Only Hope, which turned out to be a huge sensation. And there's a line in the movie that goes something to the effect of love is patient, love is kind, and that's, I think, one of those iconic lines that a lot of people actually read at weddings. And it's just a really beautiful story of an unlikely love. And if I had to recommend a movie based on Nicholas Sparks' book, I would choose this over The Notebook. So yeah, watch it and let me know which one you prefer. Another sort of psychological thriller / drama that I would recommend is a movie titled Room, which is based on the book by the same name by Emma Donoghue. And again, very beautifully made film. I'll give you a bit of a brief. It's about the journey of a woman who is held hostage. She's been kidnapped and she has a child, and how she sort of escapes from that entire setup, and how she finds it difficult to adjust to life after she's come out, and the kind of strength that she has when she was held captive, and how she sort of breaks down when she's out in the world. And it's also the journey of her son, who's actually born within captivity, and how he sees the world for the first time. A very beautiful scene from the movie is the boy, when he's held captive, his mother has always kept his hair really long, and she says that's where your strength is. And when she comes on the outside, and as a small child he sees his mother struggling, he sort of chops off his hair and says to her, "I'm giving you my strength." So I mean, beautifully captured, tears in my eyes. My next recommendation is The Jungle Book. Now hear me out. I know it's an animated film, but who's to say that animated movies are just for kids? I personally love watching them, and it gives me a sense of nostalgia because movies like The Jungle Book and The Lion King and Aladdin, they came out when I was a kid, and it reminds me of childhood. So if you're trying to relive that time in your life, or you want to watch something with your children and want to introduce them to the movies that came out way back when, then The Jungle Book is a great recommendation for that. And the book actually, the movie is based on a book or a series of stories by Rudyard Kipling, who at one point in time lived in India. And a fun fact that I did not know about him, let me sort of read this out. I was reading this book very recently, and there is a place called the JJ School of Arts in Mumbai, India, and there is a small bungalow within the complex, and there's a plaque outside that bungalow which says, "Rudyard Kipling, son of Lockwood Kipling, first principal of the Sir J.J. School of Arts, was born here. Rudyard's father, John Lockwood Kipling, worked at the art school from 1865 to 1875. And the book, my God, it's since the 1800s, which I mean, my mind just can't even fathom that the stories are still just so interesting about Mowgli and his friend Balu the bear and Sher Khan. It's, I think, a great recommendation. My die-hard romance fans, another recommendation, a movie called The Bridges of Madison County. a really old film based on a book by the same name. The book was by Robert James Waller, and it follows the story of two slightly older adults and how they find love in each other out of nowhere, and unfortunately don't end up together. Now, you might seem like I'm giving a lot away from the story, but don't worry, I haven't given away anything. What a beautifully made film, and the performances by Clint Eastwood and Meryl Streep is it's chef's kiss, as I hear a lot of people say on the internet. Very, very poignant film about love gained and love lost, and what that means for the two protagonists. Last recommendation, I know I promised 10, but when I'm shooting this I'm really tired, so I'm just giving you 9. Sorry about that. Last recommendation is The Pursuit of Happyness, and a very popular movie, but I don't know if a lot of people know that it came out as a book before, which is an autobiographical book by Chris Gardner. And Will Smith and his son Jaden, who are father and son in real life, have done an incredible job as father and son duo on screen. A really lovely scene from the film is when Will Smith's character turns to his son and says, don't let anybody tell you can't do something. That's a really lovely scene. I think please go and watch the movie once again if you're looking for some inspiration, some motivation at the end of the year. You won't regret it. And at the end, there is a scene where Will Smith's character is sort of going up a slope, and he says, "Excuse me," to someone, or another black gentleman crosses him. That's actually Chris Gardner himself. So if you didn't know that, look out for that scene at the end of the movie. So those are my top 9 recommendations for movies that are based on books. I've tried to give you a mix of romance, motivation, little psychological thrillers, little fantasy fiction, some animation mixed in there. Now, like I mentioned, the list of movies based on books is endless, and I could actually do a series on this, but to get you started, I would say these are my top 9 films that I've really loved watching as movies, and a couple of them I've actually read as books as well, just a few of them, but nonetheless, if you would like to go watch the movie and then grab a book, then I can think of no better films to begin with. Yeah, so that's it. Until next time when I'm back with a book recommendation, do keep shining, keep smiling, and stay safe.